Today we're going to be talking about the differences in, we have two different event-based businesses, or, some events, and then you also have a couple other things, Joseph specifically, but Maegan, you're kind of more so focused on the events. But we have two different entrepreneurs from Greenville that both kind of went through similar challenges with the virus and kind of where that's going to lead. And we're going to try to see what that might look like across the different businesses. We have Joseph Thompson from MadWorld, and then we have Maegan Heinz with Greenville Fashion Week. So first off, Maegan, you want to kind of start it off and talk about, a little bit of background about Greenville Fashion Week and kind of, just a general, for people that might not be familiar with it.
Absolutely. Well, Greenville Fashion Week is an event centered around fashion. It also gives emerging designers, hairstylists, makeup artists, young models, even kid models a platform to kind of launch their career. We tie in so many different businesses with our top cocktail competition to truly make the largest economic impact that we can. And the main goal is bringing people together at the end of the day for an event for Greenville.
Awesome. And then Joseph,
sounds really cool.
Do you want to kind of share about what MadWorld does and what you guys are up to?
Yeah, for sure. So we are a haunted house, a haunted attraction that centers around scaring people to death. So we are, I guess, in a sense, we are about bringing people together as well. Like you said, in the way of they get closer physically as they walk through and get scared.
Absolutely. Well,
I've actually been to his haunted house before too.
You said you've been there or you haven't?
Yes.
Oh, you have. Okay.
123, correct?
No, it is. It's all off I-85 in Piedmont.
Okay, I'm from Easley originally, so.
Okay, yeah, that's where I live in Easley, right off the Powdersville area. But yeah, we're located off exit 35 between Greenville and Anderson, the Piedmont Easley exit.
Great. Well, thank you for that. And what we're going to talk about next is, for each of you, why did you choose Greenville, and what about the community itself made you want to kind of dig your roots here and build your business? So, Maegan, if you want to take it away, you can start it off.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm originally from Easley, the Greenville area. Went to college at Charleston and saw Charleston Fashion Week launch and grow over the years. And then just coming back home to Greenville and seeing Greenville really grow. I think Greenville is definitely one of the top 10 places to visit and really on the map. And I just love how the community it's collaboration over competition, and giving something people to be a part of something that's bigger than themselves, I think was really important, and involve as many people in the community as possible.
That's awesome. So yeah, born and raised, and you just chose to stay here. This is the place you want to be. That's great.
Yeah, my situation's very similar in the fact that I'm from the area. I grew up in Piedmont, Easley area, and so it was just a matter of I wasn't going to create a haunt in Georgia or North Carolina. So right here is I live literally 5 minutes from the attraction, so I can easily come and go and do what I need to do for managing the place. And I think to dive into your question, Gianni, a little better, for us, it was more of location within the Greenville area. So finding the best location. We didn't want to be another haunted house that was off the beaten path somewhere, in the backwoods that you couldn't see. We wanted to be somewhere, if we did this thing, it was going to be in a great location that could be seen every day. And that's why we chose where we did, which is a phenomenal place where, we have 60 to 70,000 cars a day on Interstate 85 looking at us, spring, winter, summer, fall. So.
Sure. Yeah. That's obviously a big part of it. And it's huge, the location for you guys. And I think, Maegan, also another thing that we probably touch on some of the other questions, but the community too surrounding, Greenville is very much so into this, the fashion culture and participating in these kinds of events and very supportive of one another. It seems, at least, was that also a big thing that you've seen through doing it, and what kind of experience there been?
Absolutely. There's so many national brands right here locally. You have Southern Tide, Coast Apparel, Kent Wool, and it's just nice that people want to help people. And then another thing is that knowing your target demographic. Growing up here, I know the people of the community, so that's just very important. And again, Greenville is so great at helping one another and just collaborating and just seeing people grow and succeed, and I think that's very important.
So kind of building off of that a little bit, when we talk about what things in the Greenville area make it friendly for entrepreneurs, what are some of the things that you see that kind of build that, besides for maybe the community aspects where people, like to help each other, like to support? Is there anything kind of in specific that stands out as something that might be, Greenville specific? Therefore, if you're an entrepreneur, this might be a place you might well look to grow your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's so many successful business people here in Greenville, successful entrepreneurs, and finding a mentor. Carl Sobozinski, I don't know if you know this, was actually my mentor in starting Greenville Fashion Week. He's a huge component to making Greenville what he is. He owns so many successful restaurants. He started Victoria. And, just being able to meet with him, for him to guide me and kind of lay out the steps of what I needed to do as far as putting on a large scale event. And it's nice to bounce questions off back and forth. So I think, there are people in Greenville that want to help young entrepreneurs get started and finding a mentorship. I think their opportunities are endless here in Greenville.
That's awesome. And Joseph, you were kind of nodding your head, Carl?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Well, I don't know him personally. I don't think I've ever met him unless he came up to my table one time. No, I've followed Carl and Table 301 and all of his restaurants because I am just I'm just a foodie type guy. I love food. I used to do a food blog, and so I'm all about. To me, it's not enough to just go eat at a restaurant. I want to know everything about it and who started it and why is it the way that it is. I'm weird like that.
Sure. So what are maybe some other things as well that you see? Is there anything else Greenville specific for entrepreneurs that you really think's been helpful for this area specifically?
I don't know. That's a really, I guess, a hard question for me to answer. I don't know. I mean, it's not like, again, and I think the same with Maegan. We didn't as much choose the location, or at least I can say I didn't choose the location. It chose me in the fact that this is where I live. So if I lived in Birmingham, Alabama, well, MadWorld Haunted Attraction would exist in Birmingham. So, but I love Greenville. I'm a huge Greenville advocate. I am so excited. I mean, I'm 34 years old. I've lived here for 34 years, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I love this city. It's not too big. It's not too small. The city is booming. The past 15 years, this city has exploded in the food market, in manufacturing, and everything that's going on. It's just a really awesome place to go. And the tourism is growing tremendously in Greenville. And that's just such a great thing. It definitely helps my attraction for sure. I love it. I mean, would it be better to be in Atlanta or Charlotte? Sure. And as far as if we're talking numbers, if we're talking throughput of people, but we're hitting 30,000 people in the month of October, and those numbers are going up and up, and I don't see it stopping right now. I mean, there's no limit. People, we live in what was the 2013 census? 1.4 million people living in the upstate of South Carolina. So, hey, we got a lot more people to bring through here. So it's not only it's such a growing city, a growing place to be. It's good for any business. I mean, this is they talk about Raleigh, they talk about Austin, now they talk about Greenville. And like you said, Charleston, Maegan. Charleston's always been a great booming city. And now Greenville is in the magazines. Greenville is on the Travel Channel. Greenville is what you hear about a lot, no matter where you live in the United States. So it's kind of, I've always thought of this area as a honey hole. But now it's so I want people to move here, but at the same time I'm like, don't find out what we've got going on here. We don't want too many people knowing about it.
So with all those good things, are there also maybe some negatives that you've seen, or that kind of some challenges that exist for entrepreneurs in Greenville? Joseph, what do you think are maybe some things that with that either growth maybe present some challenges, or with just, what do you think?
Well, that again, that's a hard question to answer, but I will say we're in Anderson County is where MadWorld exists. So all of our t-shirts, all of our marketing, we always, as far as the whole US, we always say we're Greenville, South Carolina, like Disney World says Orlando, Florida, we're Greenville, South Carolina. But being that we're able to be in Anderson County, I will say the county has been we get a lower tax break on a lot of things. There's a lot of different things that Anderson County has been able to help us for our area. So I will say that. I know that I'm not speaking to Greenville on that, but I really don't know. I know Greenville's got a lot of thriving things for businesses, and so I'm not counting that out at all, but I'm not privy to it. So.
Sure. What about Maegan? Do you see maybe some challenges? Because, I mean, everything about event planning in Greenville when it comes to working with the city there. So what are your kind of thoughts about some maybe challenges or difficulties?
I would say, we are in the Bible Belt. So as Greenville's growing and becoming on so many top 10 lists, we're slow at becoming more progressive, especially for me, being in the fashion, things that you'd see in New York. If you were to wear that down Main Street, Greenville, you definitely would get some looks. So just testing the envelope, sometimes you don't know if it's going to go well or not. Our first year we had any old iron and they were walking zombies on the runway, and that was kind of a risk that we took. But I think Greenville definitely is becoming more of a progressive city, and I think as the years continue on, that hopefully we'll see more of that, and bringing more various businesses here to Greenville to give people that love Greenville more opportunities and interests and hobbies.
Sure, absolutely. And when it comes to other businesses downtown, within the Greenville area, or even out, by where you're at, Joseph, do you see that when it comes to businesses working with one another, there's a pretty strong relationship specifically in this area? Are businesses willing to kind of build that network of getting to know each other, and are they willing to help? And kind of what does that look like from what you've seen? Maybe you can kind of start off if you want. Or was it I said, Joseph?
No, it don't matter. Go right ahead, Maegan.
Whoever wants.
I think it is great. That's one thing I love about Greenville is, businesses do want to work together. They do want to collaborate. We partnered with the Nest Fest, which is another event this past fall, and came together and did a fall fitness fashion fetty. So I think anytime you have the opportunity to collaborate and learn from each other, there's always room for growth. So I think Greenville is so great at wanting to collaborate and learning from each other. And businesses, we have so many boutiques that participate in Greenville Fashion Week. Many of them carry not the same brands necessarily, but the same type of clothing. But even boutique owners, when they're in the style lounge, they're bouncing ideas off of one another. And I just think that's so great for here in Greenville that we have such a strong drive to want to help one another.
Sure. Yeah, Joseph, anything to add on that?
Yeah, for sure. I feel the same way in the fact that a lot of businesses will come to us and want to utilize MadWorld within their marketing to play off of us and us to them. And it's a great marketing thing. I handle all the marketing for our company. And I think things like that are brilliant when you can collaborate with other businesses around the area and utilize stuff like that. I've got thoughts already going in my head of how we can utilize, you said the zombie thing. So I'm like, we could do a collaboration. That would be so great to have some type of, I don't know, MadWorld sponsorship or we have a GVL fashion thing at MadWorld with models and our makeup team making them zombies or something. It would be so cool. I don't know what we could do, but I think Greenville's a great place for that stuff. So
that's awesome. And maybe not, especially Joseph being out kind of not in Greenville County, but have either of you experienced working with either the Merchant Association or the Chamber of Commerce, or have you attended any of those events where you saw kind of if that provided much value in terms of that, or kind of had just any experiences in general related to?
We haven't. We almost joined the Chamber of Commerce a couple of years ago, but we didn't. It wasn't because we didn't want to. It just we started doing other things and get caught up busy, So we're still debating, maybe doing that. I think that's definitely a great thing to just be more in the pipeline with things going on. But yeah.
What about you, Maegan? Have you been to any of those events, kind of been in that involvement at all?
Absolutely. I actually interned with the Greenville Chamber of Commerce years ago. But I actually was a member of Pulse. And this past year, I kind of dropped my membership because life's been a little crazy. But it was very beneficial, just to meet other entrepreneurs, young people, and just get out there and just put your name out there, especially when you're first growing your brand, to meet as many people as possible.
Sure, sure. And in addition to that, when you're we're going to talk about now these businesses that are having to together deal with the COVID-19, the coronavirus, everything that's kind of balled up in that right now. But I guess, Maegan, do you see any kind of local examples of partnerships or anything that Greenville Fashion Week might be doing to kind of work with each other for these businesses to come together to kind of try to overcome this virus? Do you see any of that? Do you see any local examples of maybe these partnerships?
Absolutely. We have a huge social media following. So our boutiques, especially retailers right now, are really hurting the small businesses. So anything that we can do to help blast out, if they have specials, they have been able to open back up, thank goodness. But they were doing sidewalk sales, delivery, and just promoting and really realizing that we're in this together. So to help businesses survive, to promote them as much as possible for the people that have supported us over the years.
That's awesome. Joseph, have you kind of been seeing anything similar with kind of the haunted attraction community or just the areas in general around you?
Well, so thank God that this isn't the fall time, or our business would be. We open for around 23 days, give or take, is our schedule. So you lose a day, then that's bad. So weather is always our worst enemy. But right now, we're not being affected by it. We're still going out there. We're still working. We're continuing on with what we've got to do to make our show and production what it needs to be for 2020. And, mid-September is when we open up. I don't, maybe it's me just trying to be optimistic, but I just don't see this lasting till then. I feel like we're already starting to move in the right direction back to normal, get things going. This has been although the virus itself is a terrible, terrible thing. It's hurt people, it's killed people, but our economy and people losing their businesses and suicide and depression and a lot of other things that go along with that is also a terrible thing. So I think as fast as soon that's safe to get out of this and move back to normal, the better. And it looks like we're doing that in South Carolina. I hope that it continues on. I hope that we don't see any type of increase or spike in numbers of people that have COVID-19. And maybe that's a little selfish of me, being, want to get my season, nobody messing with my season, but but I'm being honest, and I think for the sake of everyone's business, the sake of everyone's livelihood, we need to get back to normal as safe and soon as possible. But I've heard people within the haunted attraction industry throughout America talk about ways to distance people in the lines, and we're talking in the fall.
Sure.
And I'm kind of like, I think we're putting the cart before the horse. We don't need to think that far out ahead yet. That may not even be necessary. Let's hope it's not necessary, because that would, queue line throughput is something we study. It's a science, and making sure how many people can we hold in our queue lines versus what is the time, the intervals we're putting people through to make sure they're not running into people. And then, it's a whole thing. And to have to abide by any type of guidelines for this would drastically hurt us very badly.
Sure. And do you see that after, you kind of touched on the fact that the community is kind of talking about these things, but do you think that in the long term, what happened now, I guess in terms of staying, keeping your distance, but do you think in terms of sanitation or, people constantly, using hand sanitizer, whatever it is, do you see any of that having a long-term effect on really any of the way, you guys are doing things? Or do you think that things will go right back to normal? And in kind of addition to that, do you think that after this is over, people will want to be jumping out and doing, group activities because they've been cooped up, or do you think maybe the otherwise are going to be a little bit weary too?
That's a really good question, Gianni. So when this first all went down, I thought, this is going to be, we're going to get back to normal, soon. This is going to, everything's going to be fine. And, now I've changed my tune on that a little bit, because it seems like this is something that people are scared. People are very scared, and they have been since it started. And when that happens, people panic. And I think a lot of this has caused people to, as we start to become back to normal, I think more people are definitely going to be conscientious of how close they're standing to someone, or, did their waiter touch their fry with their thumb when they laid the plate down. There's going to be a lot of things I think that is going to go through people's mind. Will we go back to normal? Yes, but same thing. 9/11 happened, but were we ever really the same as far? I mean, we got back to normal, but we still never forget that happened, right? It's a thing that happened in our lives. Pearl Harbor, 9/11, certain big events that happened in the U.S. I think this is something that is not on that level in the fact of the travesty of it, but I think that this will be something that will remain in our minds. And, I think there's a good thing to that, to the fact that, I didn't know that people didn't wash their hands regularly, or, I just always try to keep up good hygiene as much as I can. And I thought most people would probably do that, but apparently I was naive in that in that thought process. I mean, if I go to the grocery store and touch the buggy, I'm always conscientious of, where are my hands going? Yeah, am I going to touch my face? I need to make sure I get home, wash my hands with soap and water before I eat, before I do anything else. And, God forbid, after I go to the bathroom, I'm going to wash my hands. I don't know. Maybe people just don't do that, but maybe this will make more people, practice good hygiene, I guess. But
sure. And in terms of people jumping back out and doing things, do you think that, for you guys specifically, you'll see people are just bored, they want to get out of their house immediately? Or what are your thoughts there? What's kind of your approach been recently on?
I think so. I think people will. Number one, there's a split. There's a split of people, almost like a Republican versus Democrat. When you have that split, there's a split of people that range on both sides that have no affiliation with red or blue. But there's a side that says, this is bullshit, let's get back to normal, which I'm not saying it's bullshit. I think there's some connotations of bullshit, but I'm not on that side. But then there's the other side that goes the further way. It says, no, we need to be doing our part to stay apart, to social distance, to stay in our homes for, 2 more months. And, let's not hurry this along. So those two sides are constantly bickering on social media. And, I feel like, though, that most people will be glad. So, I mean, immediately people are going to be glad to get out and do things, go to restaurants again, do things again, go to attractions. I definitely think that people are going to be excited for that. But there's also a lot of people that they don't agree with that, and they will continue to social distance. For how long, I don't know.
Yeah, Maegan, were you going to jump in there and say something too in the beginning, because you have an event too coming up soon? Do you think that that's something that will be impacted by this, or the turnout? What are your thoughts there?
Well, I completely agree with Joseph. I think it's kind of split. You can get on your Facebook and see people arguing back and forth. I think you'll have those that look forward to events. They're ready to get out of their house, get back to normal. And then you have some that may continue to wear masks into the fall, that are hesitant to even go out, or if somebody sneezes, they'll look at you like, so I'm hoping we get back to some type of normalcy, and people continue to practice good hygiene that they should have been practicing all along, as Joseph said. But I think you'll see people carrying hand sanitizer, disinfectant a little bit more. After 9/11, it changed the way we fly forever. So I think this definitely will have a lasting impact Hopefully that people are more germ conscientious. I can't say that word, conscientious. And just, making sure that they're practicing good hygiene. I think in the event world specifically, I think we'll be required to have hand sanitizer, just making sure, we already took precautions, disinfecting, but going behind, wiping chairs down for the next group to come in, and just, hopefully, as Joseph said, they don't place too many restrictions on events that will hurt the event world and attraction world. But I definitely think it's something to be thinking about.
Absolutely. So since you've been personally affected, Maegan, with kind of having to postpone your whole event, what were some of the biggest challenges? I know obviously there's probably thousands of challenges that come along with that, but having to move such a large production, what were the biggest things you saw, maybe in terms of working with the city and just the surrounding community, maybe helping out to help this process that you're having to kind of change? Or what were some challenges you ran into?
Well, initially, when all this first started happening, I was kind of like Joseph, thinking, oh, it'll be over by April. It's not going to affect our event. And then the closer we got, it became more of a reality that we weren't going to be able to have the event. And so we actually rescheduled for June 3rd through the 6th, which, like you said, there's many moving parts to a whole week production with rehearsals, designers flying in, boutiques. So we actually put that plan in motion, and we're scheduled to have it happen June 3rd through the 6th. And then, as you know, we're not having it in June, having to restart and replan event from scratch, basically, for the fall. And we don't know exactly when that will be in the fall. Working with our vendors, our production company, and then our whole team to see what everyone's schedule is like. It's very difficult when you have we have probably 300 participants, between models, hair and makeup designers, dancers, our team members, our vendors. So that's a lot of people to get all on the same page. Absolutely.
And when you have been kind of dealing with this process, working with these vendors, working with these companies, have you noticed that a lot of them, I'm assuming for the most part now, people are pretty receptive to what's going on and they're willing to be flexible? Have you noticed that when you're working with these people?
Absolutely. Obviously nobody planned for this, and it's kind of out of our control. So vendors are renegotiating contracts with us. If we have to consolidate the event down to a smaller scale for event restrictions, or we have had some sponsors and boutiques pull out because they've been financially impacted, which does hurt. But we completely understand they're not holding people to their contracts. So they definitely have been working with us. And I think that's the best that we can do right now, is just kind of work with each other and support each other.
Absolutely. So great stuff so far. Thank you guys so much. We're going to go to the last question, and we're going to talk about maybe advice that you both have as entrepreneurs in Greenville. What would you want the younger entrepreneurs, or the people that will soon be entrepreneurs in Greenville, what do you want that community to know? And whoever wants to start it off, and go for it, take it away.
Yeah. Well, I think it's important. Like, if you have an idea, Joseph, I don't know how long you had the idea to start a haunted house, but if you have an idea and you're a young entrepreneur while you're young, go for it, chase it, do everything that you can, and don't ever give up. And most importantly, find a mentor, someone that's, if you're opening a restaurant, find a chef or a restaurant owner, find someone that has the advice, that's kind of walked in those shoes before. And that's just been so beneficial for me, to have someone to bounce ideas, have a question to go to. And I think that's important for young entrepreneurs. And then if you are an entrepreneur, I hope that you also will give back your knowledge and everything that you've learned to help the generation coming up as well. And also trademark your business.
That's great. Joseph, what do you have to add to that?
Well, yeah, I agree with what Maegan said. Right on target. I mean, that hit the nail on the head, really. It's just a matter of, yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, what you said was, I could repeat it, but there's no reason to. That was right. That was very well said. So.
Sure. Is there anything else that you might have thought, wow, I wish I would have known this going through the process? I wish that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, well, we had we've always loved going through haunted houses. We've always loved watching horror movies. Scary stuff has always been a huge part of my life. And, when we weren't completely stupid when we started it. but we had other businesses that we've already done. But at the same time, we were completely broadsided and just very naive about the business, the industry itself, and everything that it takes to do it and make it happen. It's just crazy. There's so many times that we've just said we just want to quit. We just, maybe we should quit. There's times that I have literally fallen on my knees and in tears and crying, and just, it's a hard business when you deal with the public, as Maegan knows very well. You deal with the public and you don't know, every day is a different rodeo. It's crazy. People love to sue you. They love to come against you with big lawsuits to get a lot of money. There's so many moving parts with our production. We have a team of over 200 employees, 8 managers. It's a huge thing. And, I would say that my best advice I could say with that would be, don't think, for other young people, don't think that, you got to start somewhere, but don't think that you got to do everything yourself. And that's what I always did. I tend to be a micromanager, and that's not a good thing for the most part. But for me, I had to do it all. I know how I want it done, so I'm going to do it. And the problem with that is that you're getting it done the way you want it, but at the same time, you are burning yourself out. You are tiring yourself out. You're using a lot of time, a lot of your efforts, and you will implode at some point doing that. So you have to learn to get to invest in other people, to be able to find people, use people that they're creative minds. For us, it's creative people who can get on that bus with you and do their part. They can handle this to where you no longer handle it. This woman's handling this, and there's all these moving parts that all work as a team, instead of you as an owner trying to do every single thing.
That's awesome. That's great advice. Well, thank you both again for jumping on and participating in this and sharing, all of your experiences and knowledge that I'm sure is, not only helpful to me, but, a lot of people I'm sure would love to hear these kinds of thoughts and these kinds of pieces of advice that you don't know when you're first starting out. But thank you again for doing this. I appreciate both of your help. Best of luck. And, it's been great having you both share your thoughts.
Thanks for having me, and appreciate your questions, and everything seemed to be on target. So I think those were good questions. Hopefully your professor will agree, or the answers. Hopefully the answers will be what he or she wants.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys again. It was perfect. It was great.
Perfect. Well, hopefully, Joseph, I will meet you.
Yeah.
You have to come to Fashion Week too, and then wishing you the best of luck.
I would love that. Yeah. Anytime, contact me, and we could maybe try to do something if you'd ever be interested. I think doing something with the scary thing, maybe even in the fall, somehow tying it to Halloween would be neat. But yeah.